Right, we're joined now by Lizette Lancaster, Head of Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies. Lizette, good to have you, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Despite dealing with the events of July 6th, a suspended Minister of Police on special leave, an acting Minister of Police in place, Madlanga Commission that they're faced with, the Commissioner having to testify there, the ad hoc committee that they're dealing with as well. But they managed to put together these statistics at last. I mean, is this an indication that, as the Minister puts it, the other 187,000 police officers are indeed still doing their work?
Yes, I think we have to be encouraged by the fact that we are seeing a decline in violent crime for about the sixth consecutive quarter, that, you know, there are many good men and women that are still doing their jobs. Of course, you know, they are as demoralized as we are, as the public, by these allegations. And it's not an easy environment to operate in at the moment, but I think we are still seeing that many are doing the best they can under the circumstances. Yeah,
the Minister, or at least the SAPS, called this an encouraging national crime picture. Is it as encouraging for you, particularly when you look at the murder rate and the kind of decline that they have seen in this particular quarter?
Yes, I mean, an 11.5% decline in the murder rate compared to the previous quarter of 2024 is really encouraging. And as I say, it's, you know, it's the sixth quarter that we've seen these decreases in murder. And why murder is important is because it is the most reliable crime statistic, in that, you know, it's also a proxy for violence. It's the worst type of violence. So we are starting to see murder rates that we haven't seen in over a decade. So that is very, very encouraging. Of course, we are seeing about still 63 murders on average per day in this quarter, compared to the 75 murders on average in the previous annual release that was we saw last year.
Major General Sekhukhune says these are attributed to arguments, misunderstandings, road rage, provocation, saying they were responsible for, by far, the highest number of murders in South Africa. Is that something that a police strategy can actually deal with?
They can't be in every house and in every shebeen and in every place where people congregate. And we will see again in December that the crime stats go up, as it always does in December, because a lot of our violent crime is social fabric crime. They're interpersonal violence. So those are not to do with the organized crime we hear about in these commissions. But we are seeing a growing number of organized crime incidents, and that's evidenced by the mass shootings we see, by the attempted murder that still goes up because we are seeing more shootings happening. So yes, it's difficult for them to police each and every one of us in this country that seem to tend to turn violent when we drink too much and when we get into arguments.
Yeah. And I ask that because, of course, when the numbers are released, we're always looking at the police to say, well, are the police doing their job or the police not doing their job? So is there a connection that we can deduce out of this to say, well, the police have applied themselves in such a manner here, hence we are seeing the drop in the murder rate, and the police could possibly not be doing their best here, hence we are seeing a rise in contact crime, especially in Gauteng?
Yes, I think one has to look at each type of crime and judge them on their own merits in the different locations and in the different spaces that they happen. We know, and we can definitely see more political will to tackle these problems, especially robberies that we are seeing decreases in. That's very encouraging. Kidnappings are still going up. We are starting to see the first statistics now collected on extortion. That's good because at least it's on the radar of the police. So there are crimes that the police can do a lot about. The illegal firearms circulating in the streets, we are starting to see those being removed. So there's a lot the police can do, but also in cases of interpersonal violence where they might not be on the scene or cannot police every house and every shebeen or every place we gather, they can investigate those cases more properly. And we hope that this will start translating into better detection rates of these types of crime and the removal of culprits off the streets and higher conviction rates. And that's when we're really going to see a meaningful turnaround.
Yeah. It says, though recorded an increase, a remarkable increase in, or rather, I wanted to read this part. While the national crime picture is encouraging, the murder rate sharply rose in several areas in the Western Cape, most notably in Mfuleni, Delft, Gugulethu and Kraaifontein. The Western Cape could come and make an argument, Lizette, that says, well, part of the challenge here is a policy environment that constrains us because the SAPS is centralized at national level. Is this a policy challenge that you're looking at, or maybe even a resource challenge that they're dealing with in the Western Cape, where they are seeing this notable rise?
It is all of those and more. These communities are plagued by a complex interaction of factors that just makes it extremely difficult to police. They are high-density areas, a lack of trust in policing and in all government structures, high levels of gangsterism and criminal actors in these spaces vying for territory and power, often fighting one another. We see revenge killings there, multiple shootings. So it's a very difficult place to police. And in the areas where we are seeing more partnerships between the provincial government and the police in certain hotspots, we've seen huge successes in the Western Cape. But of course, the more we interrupt crimes where criminals are taken off the streets and put before court, as we've seen in certain with Nassif Modak and others, new gangs move in and more fighting happens. So it's a very difficult situation to deal with. The resources is not enough and will not be enough, but that's where partnerships are so important.
Lizette, appreciate your time. Lizette Lancaster, Head of Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies, responding to the crime statistics that have just been released by the National Police.